Imagine a world plunged into the chaos of a third world war, nations pitted against each other, economies collapsing, and uncertainty dominating every headline. In this hypothetical scenario, the world as we know it would transform overnight. Diplomatic ties would be severed, international trade would crumble, and the global economy would spiral into a free fall. Now let's delve deeper into the possible causes of such a catastrophic event. The struggle for resources, territorial disputes, and ideological differences have often been the driving forces behind conflicts throughout history. In our modern age, these factors are still very much in play, compounded by the pervasive influence of technology and information warfare. In such a war, the use of nuclear weapons could very well become a grim reality. The detonation of a single nuclear bomb would not only obliterate everything within its immediate radius, but also release harmful radiation that would linger for years, making the affected area uninhabitable. Imagine the aftermath of a nuclear strike. Cities turned into ghost towns, the environment poisoned, and countless lives lost. The survivors would face a world scarred by radiation, with the fallout affecting everything from the air we breathe to the food we eat. In the face of such devastation, the world's infrastructure would crumble. Electricity, running water, and communication networks, things we take for granted, would become luxuries. The survivors would be thrust back into a primitive lifestyle, where every day is a struggle for survival. And what of the societal implications? With governments in disarray and law enforcement non-existent, anarchy could reign supreme. The societal norms and values we hold dear could be replaced by the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. In such a world, survival would become our primary goal. But how do we prepare for such a scenario? In the coming segments, we'll explore the strategies, tools, and knowledge necessary to navigate this hypothetical yet frighteningly possible future. Preparation is not about fear, but about empowerment. It's the key to surviving any crisis, including a world war. You see, preparing yourself is a lot like getting ready for a journey. You wouldn't set off on a long trip without packing a bag, right? The same logic applies here. We're talking about arming yourself with the necessary tools, knowledge, and mindset to face any adversity. It's about ensuring that no matter what happens, you've got a fighting chance. It's about resilience, adaptability, and the will to survive. In the following scenes, we'll be discussing the specifics of preparation. We'll talk about what to include in your emergency supply kits, where to seek shelter and protection, and the skills and knowledge you'll need to navigate through challenging times. So how do we prepare for a world at war? Let's delve into it. In times of crisis, having an emergency supply kit is crucial. It becomes your lifeline. When disaster strikes, everyday conveniences we often take for granted can disappear in an instant. One of the first lines of defense in such scenarios is a well-stocked emergency supply kit. So, what should such a kit contain? First and foremost, food and water. Your kit should include a minimum of a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. Think canned goods, dry mixes, and other staples that do not require refrigeration, cooking, water, or special preparation. Also, remember to include a manual can opener in your kit. For water, you should stock 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and sanitation. Clean water becomes a precious commodity in emergency situations, so it's essential to have enough to last you and your family for several days. Next, medical supplies. A first aid kit is a must-have in any emergency supply kit. This should include bandages, antiseptic wipes, tweezers, medical tape, a digital thermometer, and over-the-counter medicines for pain relief, diarrhea, and allergies. Remember to also include any prescription medications you or your family members may need. Last but not least, important documents. In a waterproof and fireproof container, keep copies of your driver's license, passport, birth certificate, social security card, medical records, and insurance policies. In the chaos of a crisis, having these documents readily accessible can make a world of difference. Now, it's important to remember that an emergency supply kit isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Tailor your kit to meet your family's unique needs. If you have infants, include baby food and diapers. If you have pets, don't forget food and water for them too. And if anyone in your household has dietary needs or allergies, make sure your food supply reflects that. Preparing an emergency supply kit may seem daunting, but it's a task that could quite literally save your life and the lives of those you love. Remember, an emergency supply kit isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. A safe shelter is more than just a roof over your head. It's your fortress against the outside world. In the event of a third world war, finding or creating a secure shelter is a critical step to ensuring your survival. The location of your shelter plays a significant role. It should ideally be away from large structures that might collapse and cause damage. It should also be distant from bodies of water that could become contaminated. If possible, find a location that is elevated, to avoid problems like flooding and to have a clearer view of your surroundings. Building a shelter is a challenge, but it's a necessary one. You'll need strong, durable materials to protect you from harsh weather conditions and potential threats. A simple structure like a lean-to or a dugout can provide decent protection if built correctly. Remember, your shelter needs to shield you from the elements but also allow for ventilation. But your shelter is not just about physical protection, it's also about making it difficult for potential threats to find you. Camouflage is your best friend in this scenario. Use natural materials like leaves and branches to blend your shelter into the environment. Your shelter should also offer protection against radiation, particularly if we're considering a nuclear war scenario. This means thick, dense materials like concrete, earth, or even water can be used to shield you from harmful radiation. Once your shelter is established, consider setting up warning systems. A simple string with cans attached can alert you to the approach of animals or other potential threats. It's also important to maintain a certain level of hygiene within your shelter. This can prevent the spread of disease and keep your living conditions tolerable. Remember, your shelter is your home, your fortress, and your sanctuary. It is where you will sleep, eat, and plan your next steps. It's a place of safety in a world that has become unpredictable and dangerous. And so, as we navigate through this hypothetical Third World War, remember that a well-protected shelter could mean the difference between life and death. In a world at war, knowledge is your greatest weapon. The right skills can save your life. Survival in a post-apocalyptic world goes beyond hoarding canned goods and building a shelter. It's about learning and mastering a set of vital skills that can mean the difference between life and death. Let's delve into what some of these crucial abilities are. Firstly, we have first aid. In a world where medical professionals may not be readily available, knowing how to administer first aid can be a game changer. It's more than just slapping a band-aid on a cut. It's about understanding how to treat burns, fractures, and wounds. It's knowing the signs of infection and how to prevent it. It's about learning CPR and how to handle medical emergencies. In essence, first aid skills can keep you and those around you alive until professional medical help can be reached. Then, there's navigation. In a world where GPS may not be a luxury we can afford, knowing how to read a map and compass, understanding the stars, or even learning how to navigate by the sun can be invaluable. Being able to find your way around can help you reach safety, find resources, or avoid dangerous areas. Self-defense is another vital skill. The harsh reality is that in a chaotic world, not everyone will have good intentions. Knowing how to defend yourself and your loved ones is crucial. This could mean learning martial arts, understanding how to use a firearm safely and effectively, or mastering other forms of self-defense. Lastly, it's important to remember that knowledge is not a static thing. It's a lifelong pursuit. The more you know, the more adaptable you can be. So, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep expanding your skill set. The key takeaway here is this. In a world at war, your survival is not just about the physical resources you have. It's about the knowledge you carry in your head and the skills you've honed with your hands. Equip yourself with knowledge and you'll be ready to face any challenge. Preparing for a world war is a daunting task, but remember, it's a journey, not a destination. It's not about being ready overnight. It's about continually learning, adapting, and preparing. It's about understanding that preparation isn't a one-time event, but rather an ongoing process. In the face of uncertainty, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But don't let that stop you. Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to being prepared. Whether it's learning a new survival skill, adding to your emergency supplies, or reinforcing your shelter, each action counts. So keep pushing forward, keep learning, keep preparing. And remember, it's not just about physical readiness, but mental resilience too. It's about being able to adapt to changing circumstances, to find solutions when things seem bleak. Stay informed, stay prepared, and remember, survival isn't about the fittest, but the most adaptable.